Origin Gen, someone to reaction. This is Historia Clodius. Clodius, yeah, not Claudius. There's no AU. 58 BCE by the channel Historia Civilis. Yeah, another series from Julius Caesar playlist. Is the fourth video. In previous video, we saw Caesar versus Ariovistus, the German king. It was awesome, the fight and everything, but obviously Caesar being Caesar, and it wasn't that much of an outnumbered war too. It was like what, 35,000 versus something like 30,000 or something. So yeah, if Caesar had the half of his number, he still should have won because they are Romans. He's Julius Caesar. But yeah, Ariovistus was wasn't just any enemy. He had some good tactics here and there. He had learned things. Obviously, he probably conquered lots of places and learned shit. So yeah. This is about Clodius. I don't know who this is, but I guess obviously this relates to Julius Caesar. It's playlist, I guess. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards, please. Check out the link cards in here. Let's watch it.
Publius Clodius Pulcher was one of the tribunes of the plebs in 58 BCE, and we're going to talk about what he did during his year, but first we have to set the stage a bit. Before 58, Clodius had been a minor player in the Reform faction. He was around for some of the events that we've talked about already. Clodius, or Claudius as he was known at this time, served as one of Cicero's bodyguards during the Catiline conspiracy in 63 BCE. Then, at the end of Cato's year as tribune of the plebs in 62, Claudius was caught in a sex scandal. Here's the short version. A religious ceremony was being held in Julius Caesar's home. This particular ceremony was being performed by women, so Caesar was gone and his wife Pompeia was leading it. For some stupid reason, Claudius dressed up as a woman and snuck into the ceremony, intent on seducing Caesar's wife. He was discovered, obviously. As you can imagine, this was a juicy scandal, and it would become the obsession of the political class. Caesar would end up divorcing his wife over this incident. Claudius was put on trial for committing a sacrilege.
Damn, man. Clodius is the one who snuck into the house dressed as a woman, and Caesar's like, it's your fault, and divorces his wife. Maybe there's more to this. Who knows? Why would Clodius dress up as a woman to seduce someone if someone already didn't know that is this a guy or a woman because he's dressed as a woman? So I guess they had a thing before. And he just said, I'm going to meet you during this religious thing because Caesar's not at home and I'll be dressed as a woman or something. Because otherwise, how can you seduce someone dressed as a woman? I mean, how does that work? So I don't know, maybe there's more size to this. But if it's not, if Caesar's wife didn't know any of this, that's just fucked up, right? Julius Caesar like, it's your fault, I'm going to divorce you. Man, I didn't even do anything.
And what followed became the trial of the century. Improbably, Caesar ended up as one of Claudius's most vocal supporters.
What?
This seems weird to us, and it seemed weird to people at the time, but these men were both reformers, and apparently Caesar was more interested in supporting his political ally than his own wife. Claudius's whole defense was that he wasn't even in Rome.
Okay, this doesn't make sense to me, right? First of all, he would divorce his wife to save his career or something, to show like, I'm punishing the people who was involved, blah blah blah, whatever. But now if he's openly supporting Claudius to begin with, how is him divorcing his wife make any sense? I mean, I guess only thing I can think of, like, women were not treated as much then. It's like, fuck her, I don't care. I care about my political ally more than her. I can get many like her or something like that. Who the fuck knows? Or maybe even, like I said, if they were, having an affair in advance and, Caesar knew that his wife is in it too. But even then, Claudius is also an asshole because he's the one who's doing this. He's still, supporting. I guess for the party, he's supporting him, even though personally he hates him. Who the hell knows?
On the day in question. Cicero was the only person willing to testify that that wasn't true. Claudius saw this as a betrayal, and he wouldn't forget it.
You lie.
Against all odds, Claudius was acquitted. Word is that both judge and jury benefited from huge bribes from prominent reformers. The ruling was just as scandalous as the crime itself. Anyway, let's jump ahead. Claudius would go on to be elected quaestor, and would receive a lifetime appointment to the Senate as a result. During Caesar's year in 59, Claudius got it into his head that he wanted to run for tribune of the plebs. Why? Here's my theory. The system for electing praetors and consuls was heavily weighted towards the rich and powerful. These people hated Claudius's guts from the whole sex scandal thing. He was still a few years away from being eligible for praetor, but he needed to beef up his resume if he wanted to stand a chance. Plus, we shouldn't overlook the fact that Caesar's election in 59 was a big turning point for the reform faction. They had been in the political wilderness ever since the Catiline conspiracy, and Claudius was eager to be part of Caesar's new populist wave. But there was one catch. Claudius was part of an old patrician family and was therefore ineligible to run for tribune of the plebs. The hint is in the name. The tribune actually had to be a plebeian.
Yeah, patrician becoming the leader of tribune of the plebs is weird, right? I'm rich and wealthy, which you're not. So I'm gonna be your leader because that makes sense. I'm definitely going to favor all your needs while being a patrician.
So with the help of Caesar and Pompey, Claudius came up with a scheme to get around this restriction. He renounced his patrician status and was adopted into some random plebeian family, with Caesar as Rome's head priest conducting the adoption ceremony. The whole thing was a farce. His new adoptive father was younger than he was. To show off his new plebeian status, Claudius changed his name to Clodius, and immediately threw his hat in the ring to become one of next year's tribunes of the plebs. He won. I've mentioned this before, but tribunes of the plebs started their terms in December, so he got to overlap a little bit with Caesar's term as consul. The first notable thing he did, and we can now recognize the full importance of this act, was to veto Bibulus' final speech on his last day as consul.
Ooh.
Clodius wanted to align himself publicly with Caesar, and humiliating Bibulus was a great way to do just that. Clodius came in with a full slate of populist reforms he wanted to pass, very ambitious for a tribune of the plebs. First, he proposed a bill that made the grain dole not just heavily subsidized, but 100% free for all qualifying Romans. You can just imagine how this drove the conservatives crazy.
Yeah.
Cato had radically expanded the grain dole in an attempt to mollify the reformers. I guess
All the conservatives like, free? We have word for that in our language, free?
it didn't work. After Cato and Clodius expanded and deepened the grain dole, it took up a significant portion of Rome's annual budget. Cicero raised objections to the high cost of this bill, just like he did last time with Cato. But with two reformers as consuls, Cicero didn't have enough support to halt the momentum of the populists. The bill passed. Clodius then introduced the bill, further aligning himself with Caesar. The bill would take away the consul's ability to shut down public business over bad omens. This was one of the tools that Bibulus had used when he attempted to undermine Caesar's year as consul. With this bill, the message was clear. The reformers intended to have electoral success going forward, and these little procedural tricks weren't going to fly anymore. What Bibulus did was still very unpopular with the public, so the bill passed easily. Cato had made Caesar's life a living hell during his year, and Clodius wanted to eliminate him as a potential threat. His plan was a little complicated, but here it goes. Clodius argued that in the east, the island of Cyprus, which was an autonomous...
Kinda makes sense now, right? Claudius is really sucking up to Caesar because he wanna get into that whole team thing of Caesar. Like, I'm Team Caesar with all the triumvirate and everything. They're creating this kind of team, and Caesar is also saying that this could be, useful ally. I can get million wives, but this is a useful ally. I have to support him, even though he tried to bang my wife. I don't know, man. Caesar being this name. I mean, imagine Napoleon or Alexander the Great letting that slide. Even though they were emperors, and Caesar is not. Caesar has to be more politically here. I can imagine he's just thinking like how to think political. I'm not an emperor or anything. I'm not king, emperor, or nothing like that. So I have to think politically. I have to strengthen my ties and create power where I can. So I guess he let all that slide.
Region under Egypt's influence rightfully belonged to Rome. Remember, Egypt had been left in a will to the Roman Republic, and Rome hadn't really done anything about it. So Caesar had settled the issue by accepting huge bribes and renouncing Rome's claim. Clodius introduced legislation arguing that this deal didn't extend to Cyprus, since it wasn't technically part of Egypt. Was Clodius right? In a strictly legal sense, maybe, but it seems clear to me that the spirit of Caesar's deal with Ptolemy was that Rome would leave Egypt alone. After only a year, Rome was beginning to chip away at that agreement. After that bill was passed, he followed it up with another one, saying that Cato should officially oversee Rome's
loopholes. Politicians always, exploit that. But still, Cyprus, if it was part of the Egyptian Empire, I can see how, Pompey getting pissed off over that. But still, Pompey is the one who came to Caesar to help and everything. They already realized that Rome is badass because, Rome probably kicked their ass in the past or something. So, by now, if Romans don't do anything in the Egyptian mainland, I think Pompey should be happy and not, poke the lion or something. If, the island Cyprus, basically, which is, I guess north of Egypt, right? That island. If Cyprus goes, it goes, man. I mean, let's not poke Romans because they might ask more now. They just, let go of their claim over Egypt for certain bribes. That's still, good faith thing there. So yeah, Cyprus gone then gone, I guess. You shouldn't, try to get pissed off over there. Otherwise, entire Egypt might be in problem.
Annexation of Cyprus. This was just a ploy to get Cato out of the way by sending him overseas to do a job that any nameless bureaucrat could do. But Cato felt honor-bound to obey the will of the Senate, so he went. Clodius was a busy lad, but it was all building to a purpose. He introduced another piece of legislation, taking away the provinces that had been assigned to the sitting consuls, and giving them more prestigious and wealthy ones instead. Clodius was doing two things here. He was signaling to the reformers that we take care of our own, and he was basically bribing the consuls for what would come next. Now the stage was set. All of Clodius's machinations so far were building to this. He introduced a bill that would make it retroactively illegal for any public official to execute any citizen without trial. Key word, retroactively. There was no mistaking who this bill was targeting. The only living person it applied to was Cicero, who had executed the ringleaders of the Catiline conspiracy in his year. He had done so with the approval of the Senate, but it didn't matter. This bill would make it illegal anyway. The two sitting consuls, being sympathetic reformers and sufficiently bribed, backed the bill. It's a testament to the strong populist energy in the air that Cicero's personal popularity in the Senate wasn't enough to stop this from happening. The bill passed. Finally, Clodius would have his revenge. He officially charged Cicero for the executions of the prisoners during the Catiline conspiracy. When they went...
How does that work? If you just introduce new bill right now, does that apply to everything of the past? You did certain things at that time. There was no, bill or law against that, sure. And then you introduce it later on, then you can charge somebody. That works. That's a scary thing, right? But it's also an incentive. Don't do something stupid. But it's not really much of incentive. Somebody could pass the bill that is really effed up anyway if they have enough support. So it's not that you did something fucked up and somebody just created a bill later on and now you are charged. No. Somebody could charge just, let's say, like how Caesar is going right now. How Caesar, Clodius, everybody has influence in Senate. So basically, any bill they want to pass, it's getting passed. One day, what if with enough influence, somebody just, signs the bill like, nobody can, speak up to consul or something. And now as soon as the bill passes, everybody in the past who has debated, gets in prison or something. That's just effed up. If you pass some bill right now, that affects of the past too. Past events get affected.
To trial, Clodius seemed to be getting a lot of support from the people. At times, the audience in attendance could get pretty rowdy, and at the end of each day when Cicero would walk home, a group would follow him, shouting insults and pelting him with stones. Cicero began to fear for his life. After several days of this, he made the difficult decision to flee the city. Clodius jumped all over this. As soon as he found out, he introduced another bill formally banishing Cicero and seizing all of his property. The trial showed how much influence Clodius was gaining out on the streets, and the Senate didn't have the courage to stand up against him.
Seriously.
The bill passed, and Cicero would spend the next year of his life in exile. Like the rest of the Senate, Pompey had stayed quiet during the debate to banish Cicero, but Pompey liked Cicero, and more importantly, he liked his politics. He began working behind the scenes to gather the support from other senators to overturn Cicero's banishment. Clodius caught wind of this and ordered his growing gang out on the street to focus their attention on Pompey. They gave him the same treatment they gave Cicero, and it got so bad that Pompey didn't feel safe leaving his home. They may not have realized it at the time, but Clodius had effectively seized control of the government. Rome's politics were broken. But Clodius's opponents had one more trick up.
Hold up there. Yeah, I think Clodius was just sucking up to the Caesar, trying to get in good grace. Now going after Pompey, how does that work? Now isn't he making Caesar his enemy too? Right? I mean, that's just effed up, man. Maybe he's like, fuck Caesar. I have the power. Is that it? Is that the mentality right now? Damn.
Up their sleeve, and it's the oldest political trick in the book. They just decided to buckle down and wait him out. 8 of the 10 tribunes of the plebs joined forces and blocked all significant legislation from everybody. Pompey and other senators started lobbying next year's consuls to overturn Cicero's banishment after Clodius was out of office. It would take months and months of hard work, but in time, the Senate would get Cicero home. Clodius's year may have ended with gridlock, but he would go down as the most consequential tribune of the plebs in more than 60 years, and in the years to follow, his influence would only grow.
Damn. Yeah. Patricians hate me, fuck it. I'm gonna become poor, claim that I'm poor, get adopted by somebody who's younger than me, and become, the tribune of the plebs. Yeah, let's forget the past and how I was a patrician. No. Now I'm poor. I'm representing the poor. I'm representing the people. And he did all this shit. The Pompey thing didn't make sense to me. I mean, I guess at the time he didn't care about Caesar. Like, fuck Caesar. Caesar's fighting some war somewhere. He's a governor now. He's nothing. Something like that. At the start, he was sucking up to him. Now he's not. I don't know. But yeah. Alright, people, that was his year, Clodius. Clodius. Then become Clodius. I guess if you make your name sound less epic, you're a pleb. Clodius is a patrician, but Clodius is just a pleb. Alright. If you like my reaction, like and subscribe, check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast of plays, check out the cards, and I'll see you next time.